yeah, I should win just because you had the Timberwolves in the 8th seed.
Vasilevsky's been playing really well, and the Lightning have a great offense.
Yeah, it was a tremendous shot, and I've come to expect it from LeBron. I would say I wish the best for the Red Sox, but as a Yankees fan, that's really hard for me to do.
The biggest addition to me is Jalen Brunson.
Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers, and that's all I have to say. He's still a top 5 quarterback in this league, and there's nothing really anyone can do about it.
Why'd you have to name him? Like, seriously? Like, thanks, man.
Who would have thought 5 years ago that the Clippers and Nets would be facing in the finals?
How is Joe Burrow going to get the ball to them if his butt is already on the ground?
Crazy. And for the fans at home,
Hello, I'm Cy Mendenhall, and you're listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NBA Opinions of the Week. We're doing another top 10. We've done our top 10 point guards. Listen to that video. And some people that weren't on that list could be on this list. And just my backcourt mate, Austin.
Yeah, I guess we could be called that.
Or, I don't know. Front court, it could work as well. That could be something used in the future. But this
Sure.
one, to me, there was a drop-off within this top 10 on this shooting guards list.
Yeah, I definitely can see that. There definitely was a drop off at some point.
Yeah, so let's go. I'll say why there was a drop-off, because I'm not a huge fan of Tyler Hero, but I put him in my top 10 because I just couldn't think of another shooting guard that I would want on this list.
Yeah, it was definitely a very, very difficult list for I think all of us or both of us to make. I already had Kyrie as a point guard. I had Luka as a point guard, so that took away some of the options that I could have gone if I went in a different if I went differently, but I didn't, and so that kind of stunted my hand. But again, for next season, I thought this list was pretty tough. I'll go with my number 10. My number 10 was Klay Thompson. Klay just shot so uber inefficiently that I could not reconcile putting him above this, but I don't think it's too crazy having him at number 10.
No, that's fair. He's not on my list, but I totally understand. He was close in the top 10. I also don't have Kyrie on either of my top 10s. I know Kyrie's a great player. The off-the-field stuff, I don't deal with that, so I wouldn't have him in my top 10s. But as a player, he would definitely be in the top 10. It's just the other personality for me.
Yeah, I don't really blame you at all for that because it definitely can impact your team when stuff like that is happening.
Yeah, Klay, maybe a few years ago, Klay would be much higher, but for the reasons you said, it's tough to justify him on this list. But having him at 10 is solid.
Yeah, and I still think he has potential to be better than he was last year. I think just last year he struggled some. So my next guy, and this may be considered a small forward in some eyes, but he mainly played shooting guard after he was traded away. So, and just because of the lack of talent on this list, he played 80% of his time at shooting guard after he came to this team. It's Mikal Bridges. I wouldn't usually go down this road because I consider him a small forward, but because he played so heavily amount of his time at the end of the year after he got traded with his new team, and this is obviously for 23-24, so that's why we put that in there for next season. And for next season, I think he'll play shooting guard again. And there's just such a lack of talent, like you mentioned, that I think Bridges is amazing. But for him to be on the top 10 list is at least a little bit crazy.
Yeah, I definitely see what you're saying. It's tough to fill out this list, and I didn't expect that going into it. But so I totally understand it. He's not on my list, but I understand your point. And it's really a fluid thing in basketball. My top 10 guy, or my 9, is Zach LaVine, but he's dealt with a lot of injuries. but I like him more than Tyler Hero. But still, if you're asking me for a shooting guard or a guy I want next to someone, Zach LaVine would come up, but it's just he deals with injuries and I don't really know what to think of him. But like I said, there was no one else that I liked higher than him.
Yeah, I know usually you go, but I'll just say 8. My 8 Zach LaVine, so we can get through that. He just shoots too inefficiently at times, just taking dumb shots. He can be a great 3-point shooter, but then he'll take the craziest three you've ever seen in your entire life. That'll just destroy his percentage. And he's not that great on defense. He's just good. I was really close to putting Mikal Bridges above him, but I think next year LaVine will play better, but maybe Bridges passes him, and next year when we do these rankings, I'll have Bridges higher.
Yeah, I like that you went with 8 and with Zach LaVine because, and you said good. That's what I would describe this 8 to 10 range is good because 8 is Anthony Edwards. I understand the hype behind him. He's a really good player, but right now he's just good. The other guys to me have a little bit more star potential, but they also have their flaws. And I just don't think Edwards has reached that star potential yet.
Okay, I have Edwards higher than you, but who's your next guy?
So my next guy is 7. I have Brad Beal. Kind of that star power. We've seen Brad Beal, but he's dealt with injuries, so that's why he's this low. But if I would take him over the 8 and 10 guys because he's even with the health concerns because he has that level, or I've seen that level. Like I don't think I've seen that level with Anthony Edwards yet, but I can understand having Anthony Edwards higher.
Yeah, I understand that. And with my number 7, I have Buddy Hield. He played small forward primarily last season, but every other year in his career is a shooting guard. So again, just based on good, his ability to shoot the ball is extremely impressive. Last year, he shot 42.5% on 8.5 attempts from 3. And I think if he was in a better situation or on a better team, I would say he'd not only average more points, but I think he'd contribute to winning more. He is good. He averaged 5 rebounds per game, which is impressive for a 6'4" shooting guard. And like I said, his ability to shoot the 3 ball really does put him above some of these guys. But I'd even extend the good category to this is probably where it ends for me here at 7.
Yeah, Buddy Hield's not on my list, but yeah, he's a good shooting guard. And you mentioned the stats. I think he's a solid guy. So yeah, I understand having him. So now I think it's your 6.
Yeah. My 6 is Desmond Bane. Bane it's so good. And there's a lot of teams that are wishing that they would have drafted him. And I know he was a little bit injured this season, but he still played 58 games and he shot over 40% for his career, or 40% from 3 every single season. He's gotten even more efficient from the field, shooting basically 48%. He shoots well from free throw, 88.3%. And this year he averaged 22, 5, and 4. So I think next year Bane will be so good.
Yeah, Bane's really good. I am a little bit higher, but I'll get to him pretty soon. My 6 is CJ McCollum. He's really good. Dealt with injuries, but really solid player. He has that star category like Bradley Beal, just a little bit healthier than Bradley Beal. That's why he's higher. But compared to Bane, who's my 5, I'll just go right into it. I just like the upside of Bane more. I think I know what CJ McCollum is. And Bane has shown that star ability as a shooting guard, but I think there's something that could be seen more, which would justify his supermax to a little bit. But yeah, Desmond Bane is really good for all the reasons you said, and I just have him 1 tick higher.
Well, I mean, you went Bane and then McCollum. You went McCollum and then Bane. I went Bane and then McCollum. So
Okay.
I just think McCollum will have another solid year. And I think because when Jaw is out, I think that'll not necessarily stunt Bane's growth, but I don't think he'll be as proficient because as a shooting guard, you're not going to have the ball as much, and he is getting better as a passer and as a ball handler because he was not a great ball handler coming out of TCU, but he's not Ja. And so I do think he'll struggle a little bit because he hasn't experienced that. He hasn't experienced being the primary ball handler before, so I do think he'll struggle a little bit there. Well, CJ has had the ball before and knows what it is being the primary scorer. So I think Bane will be at least 1 year away before his complete, utter breakout, which is fine because I still think he's a great player. But after CJ at 5, at 4, I have Beal. So I think we all had CJ, Bane, and Beal back to back, right? Just in a different order.
Yeah. I just had Beal lower because of the injuries, but if Beal's healthy, yeah, he's definitely top 5.
The difference for me is efficiency. CJ shoots 43%, 43.7 I'll be exact. Brad shoots over 50. When Brad shoots the ball, it just seems like it's always in. As a Wizards fan, I know he only played 50 games this past year, but Bane played 58. And I don't think that he played so little because of injury as much as it was because the team was poor as well. I don't think he was ever, well, I got to come back so my team can make the playoffs. No, that was really never a conversation. And his efficiency scoring the ball is miraculous. He's a great finisher, very underrated finisher. He got better shooting free throws a couple of years ago and has continued that on because he used to shoot in the high 70s and now he's shooting in the mid 80s. So I Beal here, and I think him and Devin Booker will merge very nicely.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that goes. My 4 is Jaylen Brown. I love Jaylen Brown. I'm a huge fan. I wish I could have him on my team, but the other guys have just shown more. And this is a big year for Jaylen Brown for me because we kind of saw his shortcomings in the playoffs. But what a defender! He's so athletic and so gifted, but he does struggle handling the ball, passing. And I know you don't want to worry that as a shooting guard, but to the other guys, I just valued that more. So that's why he's at 4, but he's such an incredible player.
Yeah, I don't have Brown on my list because I consider him a small forward. It is really close. When you look at play-by-play, the last 2 years, he's primarily played small forward, and then before that, he played shooting guard, and then before that, he played small forward. But for his career, it's actually really close. 50% of his time is at small forward, 46% of his time is at shooting guard, 4% of his time is at power forward, and 1% at point guard. So he will be in my small forward list. I got close to considering him, and I know some people, well, Buddy played small forward this past year, and you consider him. Well, Buddy's also played 59% of his time during his career at shooting guard. I don't think one season trumps him being a shooting guard. I think if he gets traded anywhere, he's a shooting guard for them. So Brown will be on my list next.
Yeah, that's fair. It's tough.
I mean, sorry to interrupt, but 50
No,
to
no, you're
49% over a career, or 50 to 46% is just so close to where there's only a 4% of time difference between 50% at small forward, 46% at shooting guard. You see a lot of plays at shooting guard. You see a lot of plays at small forward. So I don't blame you having him on this list at all.
Yeah, no. I view Jason Tatum as a small forward, but
Tatum's played a lot of power forward.
Okay, he plays a lot of power forward. Yeah, that's
because you got to think it this last year starting, it was Smart, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Tatum, Al Horford, or Robert Williams at center.
okay.
So they don't like pairing Horford and Robert Williams all that much, and Robert Williams missed a significant point of the season. So Tatum's played a lot of power forward. He will be on my power forward list when we get there.
I think he might be on my small forward list. But I understand your reasoning because also I don't think KP is going to play the 5, or is he?
No, he'll probably play the 4. You know what? I may put Tatum in my small forward list just because of that. Because I think he will be a small forward next season, even though he has started most of his games as a power forward. Like 68% of his time last season was played at power forward. Oh, wait. Let me check that.
No,
34% of his time was played at power forward last year for Tatum. But he played. I mean, but if you go back to 1920, Kevin, he played
Yeah.
90% of his time at power forward. Tatum did
Really? Wow.
90%. That season, he played 10% at center. So that's the 90-10. He didn't play at. He played 0% in 1920 at small forward, while playing 90% of his time as power forward. But he also has years where he's playing, like I said, the year before that was 79% small forward. So it kind of goes both ways. But because you make a great point with KP going there, I'll put him in my small forward list. So I'll have both Brown and Tatum in my small forward list, just like I have Beal and Booker in this one.
Yeah, I also have Beal and Booker in this one. I don't think that's too shocking for that. But yeah, it's very fluid in basketball right now, as we're already getting into this. But so it's tough assigning the roles, but still, Jaylen Brown's my 4. Who was your 4? Or
My 4 was Beal.
okay, Beal, got it. Okay, I'll go into my 3, and that's Donovan Mitchell. I was tough. It was tough between Jaylen Brown and Donovan Mitchell, but the argument is Donovan Mitchell's done it by himself. He did have Mike Conley, but we've seen him go off by himself. He did struggle in the playoffs against the Mavs, but that was just a bad situation. This is a really good bounce back year for him, and he can handle the ball more than Jaylen Brown, and I trust him more. He has a better track record to me than Jaylen Brown. Even though I believe they're around the same age, but Jaylen Brown to me is still on that up, or he could be hitting that decline. Donovan Mitchell, I think we know what he is and just the peak of him.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, especially because Donovan, like you said, has proven himself by himself. So I don't necessarily agree with anything you said there, and they're about the same age. They're like 100 days apart in age. So I'll go. My number 3 is Anthony Edwards, and this is because, again, this is for next season. I think we could see a huge jump from Anthony Edwards. He did play well for Team USA in the FIBA World Cup, and the Timberwolves are going to need him. Rudy Gobert has struggled, and that's obviously been – they made the worst trade in NBA history. A lot of people consider it, and he's going to have to make a big step up, and I think he will, which is why I have him here.
Yeah, I understand that reasoning. I know a lot of people are high on Anthony Edwards, and I kind of want to see it. But yeah, he could definitely shoot up. I'm very intrigued to see what happens, especially with the Timberwolves situation. But yeah, I think I totally understand having him that high based on going into the season. It's going to be a very intriguing year for me. I want to see more Anthony Edwards, and hopefully I can find time to do that because I am interested in him. But yeah, who is your 2?
My 2 is Donovan Mitchell. So Mitchell, if we go by proven superstars, I think I'm going to put Ant in there. So I'd only have 4 shooting guards that I consider a superstar, and that'd be Booker, Mitchell, Edwards, and Beal. And I'll just go to my ones, Booker. I think Booker is the only one. I mean, Mitchell's also up there, but Booker has that playoff success as a number 1, while Mitchell does not. And he is the only shooting guard, correct me if I'm wrong, that is in the league and is leading their team while being the best player on that team. I know KD may be better now, but historically speaking, with Devin Booker's career, he's been the best player on the team. They went to the finals with him as the best player on the team. I mean, I guess you could argue Chris Paul, but Booker was the main scoring force.
Yeah, I think Chris Paul was a great 1-2 duo, but I understand Booker as the number 1 guy. Booker is my number 1 though. I'm not a huge fan of him just because of the Mavs drama, but yeah, you make a lot of good points. He's such a great shooting guard. I just don't like him for his personality, but compared to Kyrie, Devin Booker's personality is not hurting the team, in my opinion.
I think all people have a little bit of, or most players have some negative moments. Like I've seen Booker get a little bit heated. It's a Luka though. It's just like Luka. Luka gets mad at the refs instead of himself when he makes a bad play sometimes, and it's detrimental to the team for that moment, but no one's going to blame Luka for why they lose. So it goes both ways. And Booker is, I think to finish my point, you would agree, right? He's the only shooting guard in the league that has proven himself in the playoffs, basically, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Donovan Mitchell hasn't
as a one.
Yeah, I agree.
As a one.
That's a great point. Yeah. Donovan Mitchell would probably be 2 on other lists, but I'll just go into my 2. So my 3 is Donovan Mitchell. My 1 is Devin Booker. Your 2 is Donovan Mitchell. Your 1 is Devin Booker. My 2 is James Harden. I didn't have him on my point guard list.
Yeah, I had him on my point guard list.
Yeah. So to me, I was like, oh, I have to have James Harden in here. And to me, as a shoot, he does have that great passing ability. So I understand. I understand having him as a point guard, but he's also just such a great scorer.
Yeah, I think the problem for me having him as a shooting guard is, no joke, he played. I'm not even rounding. 100% of his plays this year were at point guard. 100. So it's really hard for me to put him at shooting guard, but I totally get it because historically speaking, he is a point guard. But the past a good bit of seasons he's played, the past 2 seasons especially, he's played point guard, and then this past year he played 100% of his minutes.
And I'm wondering, what does he do? I think that may have been on the situation with Tyrese Maxey, because Tyrese Maxey can't really play point, but when he was with the Nets, I believe he was shooting guard. But I wonder if he goes to the Clippers, he'll probably be in that point. No, he wouldn't be in that point guard role because Russell Westbrook got signed. That'd be interesting. But so I totally understand what you're saying with the recent thing. He didn't play shooting guard at all. But I don't view him as a point guard. I view him more as a passing shooting guard, which could be point guard, but just to me, when a shooting guard to me is like a guy that can go get me points. What do you think?
I wouldn't say that, mainly because we look at point guard and we see a Luka.
It's fair.
Or you see Curry. Or you see Shea. All those guys averaging over 30 points per game. So I don't think, especially in today's NBA, it matters who is your primary scorer. I think every team would have, like last year, the primary scorer, I think for the Wizards was either Beal or KP, but it doesn't really mean that Beal was a shooting guard, even though he was, or KP at power forward is not your normal position to be your leading scorer. We haven't seen many power forwards be the leading scorer on many teams, especially in today's NBA. So I don't think it necessarily matters who your leading scorer is, but it's kind of how you set up the offense that is, are you a shooting guard? The point guard will bring the ball up and then let the shooting guard isolate. You'd never see, sometimes you'd see other positions bring the ball up, but the point guard's main job is to distribute, but they can score if they want to. The shooting guard's main position is spacing, and that's why you have a guy like Buddy Hield. But you can also have spacing, and then when they get the ball, they go into isolation, and they're the primary option.
Yeah, I think that may have been what I was trying to say, because I agree. It's the primary. The point guard can score, but when I'm viewing my shooting guard, if he can, he can't not be willing to have the ball in his hands, which is why Jaylen Brown's lower on this list, because I think he's almost reaching that point. But when I'm looking at Booker, Harden, and Mitchell, Harden can pass more, but when I look at Mitchell and Booker, and Harden too, more in the Houston days, like, hey, here's the ball, go get scoring, go score. Does that agree with you or no?
I get what you're saying. I like I said, every team is different. So I think it's hard to say a universal statement in such a, like you mentioned before, fluid NBA. So, but I do think that what you are saying makes sense.
Yeah, and that's how I view Harden. Harden, to me, I know he's one of the best assist leaders last year, but to me, it's a guy, if I'm building around, I take Devin Booker first, because Devin Booker can score, and I also think he does a average job on defense. he does make some big plays. I think there was some time in the playoffs, and then same thing with Donovan Mitchell. But yeah, that's all I got. Austin, I'll let you close it out. I'll toss the ball to your side of the court.
Sounds good. Thank you guys for listening. Let us know your top 10. Did we miss any guys, or is there your favorite player that should have been on this list? But thank you guys for listening.